So I'm a little bit late uploading a video on this subject, and the reason for that is because I didn't know if I wanted to do an episode on this subject at all. Even as I'm speaking, I'm pretty nervous because it is a touchy subject. It's one that is important and so crucial that we be able to have an open discussion about it. But I've been pondering this a lot lately because of recent events that have happened. It seems like the line between what is acceptable and non acceptable with regards to this topic is kind of blurred. I don't like cancel culture. I think that it's particularly interesting to look at cancel culture from the lens of comedy, because comedy is sort of one place where I think that people should be able to joke about things, but it needs to be said in such a way that we know it truly is a joke. And I think when people are called out for joking about things that are sensitive and they maybe don't make it clear that they are indeed joking, it can be very triggering for some people. Matt Rife came out with a special, I don't know, probably a few weeks ago at this point. Pretty quickly, he opened up with a joke about domestic violence. When I heard the joke that he made about domestic violence, I was surprised. I think I was a little bit like, whoa, that's kind of intense, but I don't think I was necessarily offended by it because I knew going in that this is a comedy special. These jokes are not made to be taken seriously. Hopefully. I mean, that's the hope anyways. As a general blanket statement, I will say that I don't like cancel culture because I don't think that it allows us to come from a place of empathy and mutual understanding of one another in spite of maybe having differences of opinion. And I think that we've lost that so much as a society, being able to really understand one another and have respect for each other in spite of differences of opinion. I do think specifically for the Matt Rife case, it seemed like he almost wanted a reaction. It seems like he wanted to appeal to a certain sect of comedy fans that maybe wasn't a fan of him before. And in doing this, I think that he was really devaluing his female fan base. I think that it's a bit disrespectful that he seemed to want to disrespect his female fan base in order to gain a new fan base, because it's sort of like, these fans who are female are just as much of are just as valuable. Their money is just as green as the male fans. So why is it that you feel that you need to disrespect them in order to gain the respect of another fan base? I think that any publicity is good publicity, and I think that he wanted to be canceled because I think that he wanted to generate more attention for himself. I think he wanted to fall into the hands of the right, and he wanted to appeal to men because he was tired of the fact that people write him off as a comedian who only does crowd work and who appeals to women who find him attractive. I just think that it's misogynistic to decide that your core audience, who pretty much helped him reach the heights that he reached, isn't good enough because they're women, and he wants to seemingly disrespect them in order to gain the respect of another sect. That's the part that bothers me. The devaluing of a female fan or of a female audience. I can understand the struggle of how frustrating it must be for people to write you off as not good in your career just because you're attractive and because people, I guess, maybe just want to look at you or come and see you and maybe meet you. But I don't think that was really even the case. I think people genuinely did find him funny. At the end of the day, I think Matt Rife is a stand-up comedian who is going to make jokes about things. I mean, that's their job, is to make jokes about things that are sometimes controversial. And ultimately, like, if he's getting so offended by the fact that he has to defend himself, it just makes you wonder, like, why are you so angry? Why are you so, angry about the fact that people are offended by what you had to say? I mean, it takes less energy to just say that I'm sorry for offending anyone than it does to just be indignant and not want to own up to the fact that people are interpreting your words as hurtful. I do believe that stand-up comedy should be a setting in which people can make jokes and people should assume that they are jokes, right? People should assume that they are not being serious. They're not being said in order to hurt anyone. They're oftentimes said because they're trying to incite some sort of shock value and just get a reaction out of people. So I'm not here to say that Matt Rife should or shouldn't get canceled. I'm merely using this as an example to say that I don't like cancel culture, because I think the Matt Rife scenario is unique. I think that, again, I don't like cancel culture because I think people make mistakes. And if people come back and apologize for what they've said, which he has not, I think that cancel culture can be a little bit harsh, and it can just create more divide. And that's the last thing that we need in our society right now. I don't know that he was intentionally trying to hurt anyone, because I don't know him. And no one who is just a fan knows him or knows what his intentions were. But it just seems to me that the whole thing was planned out, and he just wanted to cause a stir up and gain a new fan base of people who he felt took him more seriously. It just makes you wonder what the line is between where people should get canceled and not, specifically comedians. Why do some comedians get canceled and others don't? For example, comedy is political, and it seems to me that some of the comedians who are becoming really popular on TikTok are more right-leaning. Specifically, I'm thinking about Matt Rife and Theo Von. And maybe it's like a rebellious streak against all of the political correctness that we've come under, and against woke culture. I mean, this is old news, but Joe Rogan got canceled for saying some stuff that maybe he shouldn't have said about vaccines, but he came back and he apologized and basically said, I'm a stand-up comedian and people shouldn't be taking my advice for health. They should be listening to the experts, right? They shouldn't be listening to me. I just have a platform and I said my opinion. And I think that's the right way to do it. I think that's a responsible way to do it. And I feel that for most of the things that he's said that have come out to be misinformed or not accurate, he has come back to apologize for. There was actually a recent clip that I saw on X where he was interviewing someone and they were talking about Joe Biden. And I guess there was something that Joe Biden had said that they interpreted was him speaking, when in reality it was him quoting something that Donald Trump said. Basically, the backlash was that Joe Rogan and his guest were seemingly harsher on President Joe Biden for stating an incorrect fact, and they were much less harsh on Donald Trump for doing the same thing. But I actually respected the fact, and I actually tweeted about this, I actually respected the fact that Joe Rogan kept that part in the podcast, that he didn't edit it out where he had been incorrect. And I think it's so important to have accountability. I strongly believe that people who have any platform, especially a large platform, should be doing their research, should be checking the facts and making sure that what they are saying is factual, making sure that they're not contributing to misinformation. and putting out the truth. But I also feel that at some point the onus falls on the viewer. I do believe that. I don't actually think Joe Rogan is a bad person. I think he came out supporting Palestine. He supports diversity, he supports people of color, people like that. I don't think we should be canceling people like that. Obviously, there are some people who are just genuinely not good people who should be canceled. I'm fully for that. But I think if someone misspeaks and they come back and they apologize for it, I think that we should try more to give them the benefit of the doubt, because we're all human at the end of the day. Going back to the topic of why some people are canceled and some are not, it's interesting to see people's reaction towards Theo Von and why has he not really been canceled. I think some people have tried to cancel him, but none of it really caught on. And I think that it's because he seems to make jokes in a way that's a little bit more loving and a little bit more coming from a perspective of actually caring about people. Like, he makes jokes about autism and Down syndrome, but there's actually literally videos of him with kids who have Down syndrome, I'm pretty sure. And he's interacting with them, and it's so loving. And you can tell, like, he comes from a place of love. Again, I don't know him, but that's what seems to me that the difference is. Okay, I'm currently editing over this, and I actually did want to insert a clip and just clarify that I do think that Matt Rife does this as well. There's actually an example of him roasting an amputee or amputees in general, but the person who requested that roast was someone who had his legs amputated because of being a veteran in Iraq. So I do think that Matt Rife does this as well. It seemed to me that he was joking all in good nature, and that, you know, the person didn't seem to take offense to it, and that he wasn't doing it to be offensive or hurtful. I've been listening to Trevor Noah's podcast a bunch recently, and one thing that he said that really resonated with me was that, you know, if we're not able to even have discussions or civilized conversations about things that divide us, how are we going to get to a point to potentially solving those things or coming to a solution if we can't even talk about them? Unfortunately, I think that's a lot of our reality right now, is that people are just really angry and don't know how to separate their emotions. And it's understandable. I get it. I'm angry too. I'm really angry about certain things. I recently started seeing a telehealth dermatologist. And the reason why is because I went to an in-person dermatologist to try to get spironolactone for my skin, for my acne specifically. And basically, I went in to see this dermatologist, asked him about it, and he basically wouldn't prescribe it to me because I'm not on the pill. And he basically said that if I was to get pregnant, that spironolactone would harm the baby, and that he wouldn't prescribe it to me unless I also would get on the pill. That did anger me a little bit, because it does seem like maybe that was only happening because I'm in a red state. And these things all compound, and they do make me angry, you know? I mean, I had to go to this telehealth dermatologist, and my skin is breaking out so much right now because this telehealth derm only would prescribe me a 30-day prescription. My insurance only covers 90-day prescription, and so I didn't want to pay for the 30-day price. And after going back and forth for days now, days in which I have not been taking this medication, my skin is breaking out, and I am not, like, my skin is breaking out, and I can basically chalk this all up, I mean, in my head, to being in a red state. The reason why I say that is because I told someone who I'm very close with, who is a physician, this story, and they thought it was very bizarre. If any of you are friends with a lot of doctors, you will know that they really like to be contrarian, maybe contrarians without a cause. Yeah, this person really thought it was quite bizarre, and I thought it was bizarre too. I thought it was really strange, and I do believe that it was because I'm in a place in which if I was to get pregnant and I was on that medication and something happened to the baby, there's a world in which I could potentially get in legal trouble for attempting to hurt the baby, even though I'm literally only using this prescription for my acne. I'm saying all this to say that I'm angry too, and I'm frustrated, and there are many things politically that I'm upset about, but we have to try to come to a place in which we can understand each other. And I don't think that cancel culture promotes this sort of understanding, and it just creates more anger and more divide. But it's important to talk about this, and I want to be able to have an opinion. It is New Year's Eve today. I hope everyone has an incredible New Year's Eve, and we will see you all in 2024.